Welcome to Lumino Health's Make Time for Healthy Eating webinar. I'm Emily Gilbert, a digital marketing manager on the Lumino Health team, and I'm excited to be here with Erica Schwass from Consonant Skincare today to learn more about how to make time for healthy eating. If you've been following us on social media recently, you'll know that Lumino has been on a mission to encourage people to prioritize making time for themselves through self-care, and we're excited to learn more about how to do that when it comes to your diet today. Just as a quick mention, none of this is meant to be taken as actual medical advice, but we're really excited to learn for informational purposes about Erica's experience as a nutritional scientist and find out more about what we can do to incorporate healthy eating into our day-to-day. Erica, I'm super excited that you were able to join us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
We have Consonant Skincare as one of our Discovery Lab partners on Lumino Health, and you can get great discounts on a bunch of their skincare products through our website. And I have to ask, to kick things off, Erica, what's the connection between healthy skincare and healthy eating?
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with Consonant, we're a Toronto-based company and we do specialize in 100% natural, clinically proven skincare, but we also recognize that great skin is about more than just the products that you use.
That makes sense.
And as a result, we offer diverse community projects and outreach events, including run clubs, informational seminars, free yoga classes, just anything to give people the tools to live a healthier life and achieve their best skin.
Cool. And tell me a little bit about your background. You're a nutritional scientist. I'm so curious to know, how did that come about, and what's your experience been like on that front?
So I went to school at the University of Guelph and did my undergraduate degree and my master's degree there in nutrition and nutraceutical science, and then in human health and nutritional science. And with that, I learned how to read the literature and synthesize information and just make it more accessible for the average person. And because Consonant does value research, the literature, and how you can use healthy eating and healthy living to achieve your best skin, that's just something that we recognize and lean on in our marketing practices, but then also in helping our clients.
Great. Well, it's useful information for anyone, no matter where you're at, in your health journey and otherwise. And so we're really excited to learn more. We've got a bunch of questions that have come through from you guys on social media that we're going to address in the webinar today. And just to kick things off, Erica, just when it comes to healthy eating, I know it's a broad topic. What in your mind is kind of the number one roadblock that people seem to face when they're trying to incorporate healthy eating into their day-to-day?
I think it's just the amount of information that we're faced with every day and the conflicting information.
Right.
So just taking a step back, really looking at what's in our food, why it's important, and then just finding small strategies to help implement that is just the best place to start.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know there is a lot of information out there, and I'm very excited to learn more about your experience, as well as how we can all make time to eat better in our day-to-day. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, it seems almost a little bit strange that a skincare company is presenting information about nutrition, but that's just one of the ways that Consonant Skincare is redefining the skincare industry. So as I mentioned, we do make all natural products, and we use clinical trials to help ensure that these products are of quality, but you're not compromising when switching to a natural brand. We have beautiful application. You're going to be seeing results from the skincare, and we're universally preferred amongst our clients because we use neutral branding. We don't add any fragrance to our products. We're loved by and made for people with skin.
Yeah.
But with great skin, we know it's about more than just the products that you're using. So knowing that a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle is going to help you achieve your best skin. Nutrition is, one of these components. So it's important to recognize that even with so much information about physical health, there are actually 7 dimensions of wellness, and researchers associate sort of all these components of wellness with leading a healthy life.
Yeah.
So this involves occupational wellness, environmental wellness, emotional, intellectual, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. So today's presentation, we are going to be looking at sort of physical effects of our health and how nutrition can affect those.
Great.
But we're also going to be thinking about these other dimensions and how that might relate to your life, or as you're thinking about some of these strategies, what can you use and take from this and help to make better decisions sort of each day.
Perfect. Sounds great.
So it's, like I said, really difficult with all this information coming at you every day to know where to start. And one of the things that I like to do is just looking at the impact of your day-to-day life and noticing some of the symptoms you're experiencing. Diet can impact the body in many different ways, not just our body composition, but the way our brain functions, the way our tissues heal and repair themselves, how our body fights disease, our skin health, how it functions, how it protects you, your immune function, your bone health, and then noticing those symptoms do have an impact on your day-to-day life, and different strategies that you can use to maximize your diet to help live your best life.
And what do you think some of those symptoms are, in your opinion? Like, what are there signs that your body kind of sends sometimes that say maybe it's time to check in with what you're eating every day?
Absolutely. And like I said, there are those 7 dimensions that may affect everything in your life. But ways to do this are to just take a step back, tune into what your body is telling you, and you can ask yourself just a few questions. You know, are you drinking coffee between meals for energy?
Guilty.
Do you experience chronic skincare problems? Are you craving sweets and carbohydrates throughout the day, maybe in the evening, a specific time of day?
Also guilty.
Are you feeling tired in the late afternoon? Do you have trouble focusing at work? While these may be from all elements of these dimensions, they really could be starting off with your diet.
Yeah.
So focusing on what you're eating and how you're eating may be a great place to start.
Cool, that makes sense.
So just taking that kind of step back and trying to sort out the jargon, we can look at what our food is actually composed of. So the components of food include nutrients, including micronutrients and macronutrients. So micronutrients, micro meaning small, are the very tiny proportions of your food. So those are the vitamins and the minerals within the foods that we eat.
Okay.
So vitamins, everyone has probably heard of vitamin A, D, E, K, vitamin C, the whole range of B vitamins.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about vitamins is they're actually helping run the processes in your body.
Okay,
so
cool.
they help to run metabolism, they help keep your heart muscles pumping, they help keep your muscles sending information throughout your body. So including them and having them in the right proportions in your diet is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. That makes sense.
The other micronutrient are minerals. So those are going to be your elements. So things like calcium, magnesium, iron, those are all components of food, interestingly, that become your body most often.
Oh,
so
okay.
how calcium actually becomes your bones, or how iron is one of the primary components of red blood cells.
Right.
So again, noticing what these micronutrients are and what their function is can help sort of realize why it's important to seek them out in your foods.
And how they ladder up to like the bigger picture of
Exactly.
how you feel.
So the second component is those macronutrients, so those larger components of food. Those are your proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and often overlooked water actually is one of the micronutrients, or macronutrients rather. So carbohydrates are what your body is going to use for the primary fuel source. Almost all of the cells in your body run on glucose as the primary fuel source. So eating foods with carbs, including whole grains, potatoes, starchy vegetables, fruits, those are going to offer you energy and also help to run sort of just your processes.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The second one being proteins. So those are
everybody talks about
everyone
getting
talks
good
about
protein sources. Yeah.
And it is important. They do make up a lot of the tissues in your body. So lean tissue, things like your organs, your muscles, almost all of your cells are composed of a mixture of proteins and fats.
Cool.
And so having sufficient protein means you're able to replenish and replace those tissues. So those are going to be from the sources like your proteins from your meats, your fish, legumes, and
stuff like eggs.
Yeah, eggs, there you go.
Cool.
So that's also important in the diet, and you can see why. Your third macronutrient is fats. So those are so important, sometimes a misunderstood component of the diet.
Get a bad rap sometimes.
Exactly, yeah. So fats are important because they make up your cells as well. The phospholipid bilayer in your cell is that fatty structure in every single one of your cells. Also, it's the precursor to hormones. It helps regulate the endocrine system or the hormone system of the body. So without sufficient fats, you're not going to be able to send all of those signals around your body.
Right. Right.
So super important. And then the last one is water. I think most people know that your body is primarily composed of water, and
Right.
so is a lot of the food you eat.
Yeah.
But it's also so key in metabolism, in helping your body stay cool through sweating, helping to lubricate your joints. It makes up your lymphatic system, your vascular system. Water is a huge component, and so just drinking enough is some easy way to sort of help to make sure you're meeting your needs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, most people often, I feel like, don't get enough water.
Absolutely, yeah. People tend to rely on other beverages, and so water is just such an easy switch. So how to make sure that you're getting enough of these components? It may be just as simple as choosing high quality foods.
Right.
So high quality food is one that has good macronutrient ratios, so doesn't just have all carbohydrates or
Okay.
all fats.
There's like a balance. Sort
Yeah,
of.
there's a balance. And it may not just be one food that you're choosing having those components. So
Yeah.
while a potato has mostly carbohydrates, that's not necessarily bad. But if you're choosing a processed food that's only one
okay.
macronutrient, it can be tricky.
Yeah.
But not to confuse sort of the viewers and everyone, there are strategies to help making sure that you're choosing foods with good macronutrient ratios as well as high micronutrients, so high in vitamins and minerals.
Okay.
So a way of doing this is choosing foods from a variety of groups. So
Right.
whether it's from your plants, your animals, just different places
Right.
where you're looking to your food.
Get a selection of different things.
Exactly,
versus
sort
one.
of thinking about the food groups I think we've all sort of like known
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a good strategy, but also choosing food in a variety of colors.
Oh,
And
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So choosing food with pigments,
Mm-hmm.
you're ensuring that you're getting a range of micronutrients as well. Pigments are highly associated with different nutrients, and choosing different colors means you're going to be getting a variety.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So those orange and green vegetables are really important. And so what I like to do is just aim for a serving of orange fruits or vegetables every day, as well as a serving of leafy green vegetables, those dark green leafies like
Yeah.
kale and spinach. And those are going to be helping to get those nutrients that are a bit harder to come by. And the final thing that you can do to ensure that these nutrients are intact is to eat whole foods and limit processed ones.
Yeah,
so
that's what they say,
This
isn't
is
it?
almost like become a buzz term,
Yes.
is don't eat processed foods. And so what this really means is the least number of steps it took to get from where it was grown or raised to your plate, the least number of processing steps occurred. And that's
Right.
a really great rule of thumb. If you can recognize the food in its whole form, it's
Yeah.
probably going to have the highest amount of micronutrients and it's probably going to be more balanced in the ratios of macronutrients.
Right. So like the minimal number of ingredients, the better.
Yeah,
for
that's
example.
also, if you're relying on a food label, that's
Yeah.
a good place to start as well.
Got it. Cool.
So it's hard to know where to focus your efforts with the foods that you're choosing or
Yep.
the strategies to
Yeah.
implement healthy eating.
So
So a tool that I like to use is the eating pyramid.
Okay. Tell us about that.
So it's just a diagram that shows 3 stages of where to focus your efforts and
Yep.
what you can do.
Cool.
So the base of the pyramid is sort of the great structure or the foundation of healthy eating. So that's just going to be your consistent healthy eating practices throughout the life cycle. So this sort of means choosing whole foods, choosing nutrient-rich foods most of the time.
Yeah.
I like to use the 80-20 rule. If you can do this 80% of the time and indulge 20% of the time, that's great. That's fine.
Right.
That's balance.
Yeah.
And doing it throughout the life cycle sort of means doing it through your 20s, doing it into your 30s and 40s so that in your 60s, 70s, 80s, you can be sort of maximizing your life.
Right.
So peak bone mass, peak muscle mass. Those are things that peak in your 20s and 30s.
Right.
So if you can be eating healthy through those times, getting enough calcium, getting enough vitamin D, you're ensuring healthy bones, healthy muscles into your older age.
That makes total sense.
So that's a great place to start and to focus your efforts.
Yeah.
Once you've sort of mastered the content of what you're eating, then you can start to refine sort of pairing foods together in a strategic way and timing your foods in a way that's going to help boost bioavailability or boost your ability to absorb those foods.
Okay.
And manage sort of some of the symptoms around eating, like hunger levels.
So things that you can do to help with that based on your
Yeah,
diet and
exactly. So once you've sort of mastered those techniques, the next thing that you can do is add supplements where needed. So adding things like vitamin and mineral supplements, adding protein powders, or food stuffs, like not whole foods, but things that are healthy and can help to maintain a healthy diet.
Okay, cool.
It just helps us get away from, focusing on, say, supplementation, but you're not eating the healthiest food. So maybe you're going and eating fast food, but you're taking a vitamin supplement. It may not be the best place to focus your efforts.
Yeah, and there's so many different types of supplements and stuff out there. So just kind of finding, I guess, the right balance.
And the ones that are meaningful as well.
Cool.
So some tools that I really like to use are things like the Healthy Eating Plate from Harvard Medical School.
Cool.
I really like this document because it's used to teach sort of the general population, so it may not be for every single person. It does show a general overview of strategies that you can use to just be a little bit healthier with your food choices.
Oh, cool.
I like this because it's not funded by industry professionals. It's coming from just the literature and what suggests is the healthiest option.
Cool.
So this is a tool that you can use. Just look at your plate, cut it in half, make half of its fruits and vegetables, choosing a quarter lean protein and a quarter whole grains, making water your drink of choice, just simple things that you can do at every meal that don't take a lot of sort of planning, or it doesn't take a lot of tracking, but to be ensuring that you're meeting your needs.
Yes.
Especially if you're factoring in sort of those colorful fruits and vegetables, whole foods first, then it's just something that's a bit more manageable with all the information that's coming at us.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of get that visual and remember kind of what the portions should roughly look like.
Yeah, exactly. And I was really excited to see that Canada's new food guide sort of followed suit with this as well.
Oh, cool.
They did the same thing with a plate structure that you can just look at, making half of its fruits and vegetables, a quarter carbs, a quarter protein.
Cool.
And choosing it from sort of whole food sources.
Nice.
And interestingly enough, we had a question from the Consonant Life Instagram that asked, what are some ways that you can use healthy eating strategies to help do things like limit inflammation and help with your gut health? And it sort of brings it back to that sort of what is creating a healthy gut. And it can be things like eating those whole foods, eating that fiber, choosing, feeding that bacteria. So you can be addressing more sophisticated components of your eating and components of your body systems without sort of thinking too hard about it. So you can be helping your gut stay healthier. You can be feeding that bacteria simply by following a structure like the Healthy Eating Plate.
Cool.
Once you've sort of mastered the content of what you're eating and helping with portions, whatever works for you, you can start to look at your eating patterns.
Okay.
So
tell us about that.
Yeah.
What do you mean by eating patterns?
So the frequency in which you're eating the meals and how you're pairing those together. So I like to use a tool. It's a great diagram for eating patterns. Where the middle line is just your blood sugar levels, and it depicts the blood sugar throughout the day. So your blood sugar is the amount of glucose in your blood. As your food breaks down into its components, it's often associated with the glucose levels in the food. So once you break down carbohydrates into glucose, it increases your blood sugar. Your body uses insulin to bring it back down. And if you're eating foods that are high in carbohydrates that break down faster, things like refined flour, and I'm sure you hear people demonizing white sugar.
And white bread and white pizza crust, or I guess pizza isn't necessarily the epitome of healthy eating, but that 80-20 balance,
80-20,
right?
There you go. So that's why people like to talk about these foods being kind of negative, is often the impact that they have on your blood sugar. And so helping to manage this can be a strategy to alleviate some of the symptoms we were addressing earlier.
Got it.
So when you say you wake up in the morning and you eat something that's high in refined sugars, this may increase your blood sugar levels to an extreme. So if you reach for, say, a muffin that's made with white flour and a lot of sugar and it doesn't have a lot of healthy fats or fiber, it can increase your blood sugar. Then you're going to have a strong insulin response. And some of the symptoms you might experience as a result are going to be that mental sort of inclarity. You might experience
the sugar high.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a sugar high. You might not be able to focus as well. And then as your body releases insulin to help decrease that blood sugar, you're gonna have maybe a more dramatic decrease because of how high the sugar levels were. So then you might be experiencing things like feeling tired or cranky. When it's very, very low, you might experience that sort of like hangriness. And you're more likely to reach for foods that maybe aren't the healthiest simply because you're so hungry, you'll just take whatever you can get.
Everybody's been there at one point or another.
Absolutely. So when you're having these cravings and these sort of experiences,
what should you do?
So I like to eat more frequently through the day. And while some people may turn to strategies like intermittent fasting or other sort of food timing strategies, this is one that shows most sustainable in the research.
So eating like small amounts of things versus big.
So eating frequent meals, smaller meals throughout the day, even every sort of 2 to 4 hours. Letting your hunger govern when you're eating, but eating when you're just a little bit hungry instead of waiting until you're having those really ravenous hunger pangs. So by eating healthy foods a bit more frequently in smaller quantities can help to oscillate that blood sugar level around a more steady line. So you're still going to have those peaks and those valleys. They're just going to be less drastic, and that's associated with having less of those symptoms. So one of the questions we actually did get from our social media was, what can you eat to have more energy through the day? And
good question.
So if you are focusing on that bottom of the pyramid, eating more healthy foods, eating more whole foods and limiting processed ones, that's going to help greatly. But then also you can use strategies like timing to sort of maximize that, because if you're feeling those symptoms of fatigue, it may be because of low blood sugar, it may be because of these really drastic peaks and valleys. So something that you can do to help manage this, in addition to just timing, is eating in pairs.
Eating in pairs. What do you mean by that?
So carbohydrates, like I mentioned, are your fast-acting fuel source. So they're broken down more faster by the body, and will increase your blood sugar, and you're going to get that rush. But it's also associated with that sort of decrease again as well. Whereas fats and proteins, your other macronutrients, are going to break down in the stomach and are absorbed slowly. So if you can pair your carbohydrate-rich food with a fat or a protein source, or both, it's going to help to slow the absorption of the carbohydrate, but it's also going to release fuel slowly. So you're going to get that nice immediate energy from the carbohydrates, but you're going to get that long, slow burn from the proteins and fats. So this may look different for everyone depending on the diet that you choose, but it may be, instead of just reaching for maybe a piece of fruit, having some nut butter or a handful of nuts. And so the protein and the fats in those nuts are going to help and act as your slow releasing fuel source. For some people, this may be, instead of just grabbing a slice of toast, maybe have an egg or some other kind of source of protein and protein and fat with it.
I always keep a bag of almonds at my desk at work.
Exactly, that's perfect. So if you can have that bag of almonds and maybe toss in some dried fruit, then you're going to add that carb source, and it's going to just make it a little bit more sustainable having it paired together.
Cool, I'll try that next time.
So because we have that base of the pyramid completed, the quantity of what you're eating, the timing of what you're eating for that second piece of the pyramid, then you can start to fill in the gaps with supplementation. So there are some, like you said, there's a lot of supplement options out there, but some of the ones with the most literature behind it, some with the most benefit for people in sort of Canada or the Western world, are things like fish oils, so omega-3 fatty acids. I'm sure everyone has heard of these. The important ones are the EPA and the DHA. Those are going to help with so many things, decreasing inflammation, your cognitive abilities, and some of the literature suggests even using them for certain diseases. So lots of interesting research happening with omega-3s. And if you're not eating fish a few times a week, a great thing to do for you may be to supplement with this. Another vitamin that you may be missing out on if you're Canadian, especially in the wintertime, is vitamin D. If you're not seeing the sun as much as you should, and the sun's rays are less effective at producing vitamin D in your skin in the winter months, it's a very simple supplement that you may want to include in your diet. If you're female, if you experience menstruation, iron could be something that you're missing out on and can help manage fatigue symptoms. It's something that if you're an athlete, you may find a benefit in that. And obviously speaking with your health professionals, getting regular blood tests can indicate if you're low in iron or any of these vitamins. And it may be a nice place to refine your diet and add these supplements in.
For sure.
Those who follow a plant-based diet or a vegan diet may need to supplement with B12 as a way to sort of maximize their health. And this is just because a lot of the B12 from our diets comes in animal products.
Oh, I see.
So something to look into if a plant-based diet is your lifestyle of choice.
Yeah.
And then finally, protein powder can be something that you can use to just make sure you're meeting your macronutrient needs. And there is good literature to suggest that this is an effective strategy if you aren't able to eat whole foods. I always like to say real food first and then fill in the gaps. So I like to sort of follow that, thinking again of the pyramid, with focusing your strategies and then refining as you get to the peak.
Cool. That makes sense. And there's so much, I guess, you've covered so much ground in terms of different types of foods or examples of kind of how to make, the right choices or the best you can with various types of foods and food groups. But I'm so curious to know, there's so much information, but how do you actually start doing it? Like, what is the best way to start making that time to eat well and to incorporate the healthy eating into your day-to-day? How do you start?
Yeah, there's so much information, but just taking a few steps and just prioritizing healthy eating, that's sort of getting into that mentality of this matters and this affects my everyday. That can be, enough motivation to get you to start. And so ways that you can prioritize healthy eating and making time for healthy eating is going to be just planning ahead. So planning Sunday meal preps, planning your grocery shop into your schedule, having a plan, eating food when you're just a little bit hungry to avoid those kind of crazy cravings that may have you reaching for something that's not on the healthy side of things.
Or going to the grocery store when you're hungry.
Going to the grocery store when you're hungry.
Another recipe for disaster, right?
Yes. So having a list and having a plan when you enter the grocery store can not only prevent you from making maybe some spontaneous purchases, but also help you with your time as well. Because it does take a lot of time to create a healthy meal plan sometimes. So if you have a good strategy in place, it can make it more manageable. An app that I love to use is Google Keep. It's just a digital shopping list that you can share with like family members, or it's just on your device so you know it's there. It's nice because as you sort of check things off your list, they just move to the bottom. So they're there if you are, in a meeting and something reminds you like, oh yeah, I could, I need to pick up that baking soda. And so then you can add it to the list and you're not going to forget. So
that's one that's been helpful for you found.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I use, and I don't know, maybe it will work for other people. Your device is always just at arm's reach. So if you can make it useful, might as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know we've covered sort of a lot today, and it may be hard to sort of focus in. But making a longitudinal healthy living strategy is something that does take time and patience and just being tuned into yourself, I think, a little bit. So one of the ways that I like to start is by thinking about why you want to live a healthier life. And I like to make it about more than just what's on the scale. I think a lot of people go to healthy eating to lose weight. And while weight management is part of healthy living, if you can find a lifestyle reason for why you're making that change, it can help make it more sustainable. I think attaching it to something that is deeper can help keep it. And even if you do have a time where you mess up, or you've had, around the holidays when you indulge a bit more, if you can make your healthy living journey about more, it's often helpful. So thinking about, is healthy living going to make it easier to play with my children? Or is it going to help focus at work? Is it going to, if you're training for something athletic, is it going to help that training goal? So making that plan and setting a goal is a great place to start.
That makes total sense too, because when I've found anyway, that if you haven't really been eating well for a few days, you don't feel as great, so you're not as able to kind of participate in those activities or broader goals that you might have. So it makes sense to start with what you eat for sure.
Yeah, and also finding those little pieces of progress and track them, write them down.
Yeah.
It can help you stay accountable. It can help you just celebrate those small achievements, and will help with keeping it going into your life.
Right.
So with all the information that we covered, just to review sort of where it's best to focus your efforts when you're starting out.
Yeah.
So starting small and keeping track
Yeah.
can be a great place to sort of start your journey. Being consistent, that 80-20 kind of rule where you're consistently choosing healthy whole foods, but reward yourself, enjoy, and there's so many factors that influence healthy eating and just food choices in general that the consistency is going to be what sort of make or breaks.
So the odd piece of pizza isn't a deal breaker.
Oh, highly encouraged.
Okay,
in fact. Good. Eating small, frequent meals throughout the day may be a strategy that works for you. It's what the research suggests is sustainable.
Okay.
Eating in pairs, so pairing those carb-rich foods with fats and proteins just to help manage the snacking. I think that's most important for choosing small meals.
Yep.
Having restrictive diets can be a deal breaker, so just making those small changes without cutting out whole food groups.
Right.
Planning ahead, having that strategy in place, whether it's at the grocery store or in your own home cooking, can be a nice option. And then filling in the gaps with supplements.
Right. Cool.
So it's always something important to remember is food comes from so many different places in our lives.
Yeah.
Remembering that, the 7 dimensions of health really do affect our choices every day.
For sure.
Just in one food choice, you may be making that from a cultural perspective. You might be choosing a food because of the financial implications, or maybe you're thinking of the environment when you're making it. So just acknowledging and being more mindful of the food decisions you're making, and mix it up. Choose foods for a variety of reasons. Choose them because they taste good. Choose them because they're good for your health, or because it's from your cultural background, and just mix it up so that you're not always picking food because it tastes good, or picking food because it's, the cheapest. Choose quality and enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
makes sense.
Find people that also enjoy the same things as you, and surround yourself with people that are helping you make those decisions. And that's something that really is important to us at Consonant, and that's why we started the Consonant Life community. So at our locations, we offer everything from informational seminars to complimentary yoga classes and run club, so that you can get the information and tools to start putting this into practice with people that are just like you. They're starting out. It's not an intense environment. It's welcoming, and it's just our way of helping people achieve their best skin through living healthier lives.
Cool. That sounds awesome. You've covered so much, Erica. It's been actually really interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot myself in the past few minutes we've been here together today. I'm curious to know, I guess, if you had to sum it up into one takeaway. I know we've gone through a lot of stuff, but what is your number one takeaway for the audience here today about everything you've summarized?
I think it goes back to sort of the main roadblock that's stopping people, and I think it's just the sheer amount of information that we have access to. So finding out what's meaningful to you, starting with sort of what's in your food, what is it doing for your body, and why are you choosing it, and just picking strategies that are really going to help reinforce those small sort of pieces and changes. So if you can just start, if you can just choose healthier food each day, and even if it's just for one meal, just start doing it, I think.
Yeah, just take the first step, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Better than not starting at all, for sure.
Don't let it overwhelm you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. We've actually got a few questions that have come in from our audience as well that I'd love to be able to pick your brain on if you have a moment.
Yeah, of course.
One thing that somebody has asked is, what, in your opinion, is, I guess, an example of something that's great to eat to keep your skin healthy? Like, what are healthy foods that are also beneficial for your skin?
Well, that comes down to sort of what's important for your cells. What do you need for your skin cells to function their best? And an easy one is just water. So staying hydrated. A lot of your cells are composed of water, so having that nice, flexible, elastic skin starts with hydration. So definitely number one is drinking enough clear fluids.
Yeah.
The next thing is your cells need those micronutrients. So whether you're applying them topically or ingesting them, things like vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, those are great things to use topically, but also get enough in your diet. So choosing foods like nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, those are going to be really high in the essential nutrients that'll make your skin its healthiest as well.
Wow.
I definitely think those orange and green vegetables, so good for your cells, but especially for your skin.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, good to know.
And then the last one would be just fish oils, I think is a good one. Just healthy fats and omega-3s are huge for the lipid bilayer of your skin, how your skin is interacting with each other. So things that you can include in your diet to help your skin. Cool.
That's great. I wonder as well, I mean, I know there's obviously many different types of food you chatted about today that are great for your body and for your skin and can help. But what in your mind, I guess, is one food, somebody was asking about this, what's something that's affordable and accessible that people aren't eating enough of? So we've got a social media follower that's curious to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. In my opinion, I think legumes are something that's an under sort of appreciated food option. Yeah, so those are going to be like your beans, your pulses, chickpeas.
What's pulses? What is?
Pulses is a class of legumes that includes like lentils, chickpeas.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and the reason that I think that is I think legumes are something that really encompasses the 7 dimensions of wellness. I keep going back to this, but that's, I think, so important with sustainability. So legumes are a very affordable option. You can get them at most places, and they come in a form that's sort of easy. Like often dried is such an easy way of storing them.
Yeah.
So it makes them very affordable. So the access is really great.
Yeah.
They're also very cross-cultural. I think you can look at many different types of dishes and legumes are present. So things like dal and hummus, falafel, chili, various baked goods that you can use pulses and lentils and black bean brownies. You know, I think you can find many cultures that include them. So there's something new that you can try or within your own culture, using them in your cooking.
Cool.
Also, they, you know, from a physical perspective, they offer a really great source of protein. They have rich in vitamins and minerals, iron, zinc. They also have a lot of healthy fibers, so feeding that gut bacteria. I think one of the questions about gut bacteria was what are some foods that you can implement? So feeding your gut bacteria that healthy fiber, like in legumes, is a great option. And then they're also something that anyone can enjoy. I think most diets will allow them, sort of depending on your dietary restrictions. I think a plant-based diet, meat eaters, everyone alike can appreciate like a good hearty bean salad or something. So I think that's definitely something that's accessible that people aren't using enough of is some legumes.
That makes total sense. And you're right, they're so versatile. There's so many different ways you can make a meal from it or incorporate it into your day-to-day. Oh, that's awesome, Erica. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm going to start my meal prepping now for the next week's grocery shop as per your tips. And it's been just great to have you here.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. That wraps up our webinar, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about Consonant Skincare, please visit our website, luminohealth.ca, and you'll find Consonant in our Discovery Lab.
Thank you.
Thanks.